A very warm welcome to Life Strategies Short Talks. My name is John and I will be your host. Today I would like to chat about the question, do dreams come true? And if so, how? So many people worldwide have become disillusioned and disappointed with life and have no real sense of meaning and purpose, and very often have given up on their dreams or maybe never had any dreams. In a previous short talk, I spoke about the whole idea of purpose and meaning. And we spoke about the fact that purpose is when I do something that I can look forward to, a reason to get up, something that makes me feel that I'm able to invest time, energy, effort, and I can look back at the end of the day and feel good about the fact that I was able to do that. Meaning is the value that we give to whatever it is that we were doing. In other words, how does it make me feel about myself? It gives me a feeling of making a difference. It gives me a feeling of adding value to my own life and the lives of others. So I want to link that to the whole idea of dreams. Now, when I talk about dreams, I'm not talking about wishes. I do not believe that wishes come true. I wish I could, etc., etc., etc. I'm talking about the things that we spend time on thinking about, dreaming about, imagining, having a yearning or a desire for. And as I said, so many people have come to the stage where they've given up on their dreams, believing that there is no possibility for their dreams to come true. I would like to share some personal experiences from my own life and how I learned to make my dreams come true inadvertently. And what I mean by that is I didn't even realize at the time that I was actually applying universal laws and principles that contributed towards my dreams becoming reality. I'm going to go right back to childhood and I'm going to touch on various aspects of dreams that I had. And in hindsight now, I realize there were dreams, there were goals, but at the time I didn't necessarily think about these as dreams and goals. I grew up in a very dysfunctional home situation where there was never any display or demonstration of love or affection. And in hindsight now, I refer to it as an emotionally sterile environment. I grew up with very low self-worth, low self-esteem, having experienced sexual molestation, being bullied at school, running away from home at the age of 14, and just being very unhappy within myself. And that perpetuated throughout my later teens and into my early adulthood. And again, in hindsight, the time that I spent imagining and dreaming was really more about escaping and creating a different experience for myself, although that's not necessarily what I was saying to myself at the time, but I understand now what that was all about. So I just want to cover some of these dreams and imaginations that I spent time with and in. As a child of around about 10, 11, 12, I always had a real fascination with Africa. Now, to put it into context, I grew up during a segregation and apartheid. So the mindset at that time in particular was that Africa was really looked at as a separate continent. There was no way of us really relating to Africa, and the chances of white South Africans traveling into Africa were really minor. And I remember listening to radio shows. I grew up during the time before TV, so radio was our form of entertainment. And as I said, I remember listening to radio shows about Africa, either about missionaries or mercenaries, and the way they described Africa as the dark continent, talking about little rural villages, very often the sounds of kids singing and descriptions of what is around the villages at night with the fires and the nature sounds. And I always was so intrigued by this. And I really got involved with these stories and these tales and sort of imagined myself being there and experiencing it. Now, I just want to remind you that at that stage, I wasn't necessarily thinking about ever doing it or experiencing it. I was just escaping my current reality at that time more than anything else. Then, a few years later, we were living near a lake at the time, and also at the height of unhappiness and frustration within myself. I used to walk around the lake most afternoons after school, and I remember while walking around the lake imagining myself teaching. And number one and number two, imagining myself working with hurting people is the only way I can describe the thinking at the time. Now, again, to put it into context, I was functioning at an average to below average level at school, having had learning difficulties and feeling stupid, and having a memory of a teacher once telling me that I looked like an idiot. So not really believing in myself, plus the fact that financially there was no real chance of me ever being able to study. And yet I had these imaginations and these dreams at the time, and I'm going to say it again, not thinking at the time this is what I want to do with my life, but more sort of imagining what it feels like to be able to do that. And then much later on as an adult, I remember watching a program on television that was about people relocating to other countries to take up new employment opportunities. And this program is all about people going to these countries and exploring and looking for accommodation. And then they would revisit again 3 months later and show how these people were living in these new adopted countries. And again, I used to get so engrossed and involved in this and imagine what it must feel like. My story at the time was what it must feel like to live and work in an exotic environment as an expat. Now, fast forward a number of years, all those dreams became reality in my life, and I would need at least an hour or two to explain to you the various factors that came into play, the contributing factors, the cooperative components that came about to make these things possible for me, which is just absolutely incredible. And I landed up spending 11 years teaching primary school, high school, special education, including cerebral palsy children. I spent another 11 years traveling Africa, various African countries, in some of the most remote and rural areas, where I was reminded of my childhood fantasies about imagining what it would be like to experience these areas. I also spent a number of years working in the prison system, in mental health facilities, and in addiction treatment facilities. Now, remember the different categories of dreams, if I can put it that way, to experience Africa, or what it would be like to experience Africa, and working with hurting people or troubled people, and then living and working as an expat in an exotic environment. Currently, I reside in northern Thailand. I am a senior counselor at an international addiction treatment center. So to put it in a nutshell, I am currently living my dream, and I have done so over a number of years. And these dreams only relate to my career, so to speak, and various experiences. There are so many other areas in my life. Now, just to conclude this talk, what is the secret? What was I doing inadvertently that I didn't even realize at the time that was starting the process of creating all of this? Well, there is the intention, the dream, the imagining of what it is I would like to experience, making it clear to myself what it was I wanted to experience, and then using my imagination, creating the pictures in my mind. It's almost like video clips that I created in my mind. And then the associated feelings, because I remember throughout all those various times me really feeling what it would feel like, experiencing the reality. As Neville Goddard says, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The imagination, as I said, the pictures, And very often the sounds, even I imagined what it would sound like to hear the kids singing and smelling the fires at night, and I experienced all of that. So the whole clear picture of what it is that I want to do, what it is that I want to experience, and bringing the imagination into it, and in particular feeling the feeling of what it would be like to experience that. And I want to link that to the whole idea of purpose and meaning, because in this whole process I also manifested or materialized my own sense of purpose. Having done all these things, working in the prisons, working in mental health facilities, working with the disabled, working in addiction recovery treatment centers, and the experiences I've had during all these times were exactly what I imagined they would be when I was playing these mind games, if I can put it that way, with myself, imagining the experiences and that sense of purpose that I've had for a number of years, something to get up for, something to invest my time, energy, and effort into, something that makes me feel good about myself at the end of the day. The amazing feeling of adding value not only to my own life, but also to the lives of others. So I want to really encourage you, do not give up on your dreams. Any ideas that come up, sometimes you may think, is this for me? Is this really a reality? Is it possible to achieve this? What I experienced is the mere fact that you imagine that means that it is possible. Number one. And number two, if it feels real to you, it is possible. So continue to explore that, continue to explore the possibilities, continue to explore what it is that you want to do with your life, continue to explore what it is that you want to experience. And I promise you, if you persist and you continue with it and you remain consistent, those dreams will become reality. What are the requirements, or what are the secrets? The clear imagination, the picturing with all the various experiences associated with it, and that strong emotion, the feelings of what it would be like to experience that. Have an amazing journey as you move towards the manifestation and realization of your dreams.